The sun already burned at the horizon, while the high point of its meridian circle covered Jerusalem, and in opposition, equal night revolved around the Ganges, bearing the scales that fall out of her hand as she grows longer with the season's changes. Thus, where I was, Aurora in her passage was losing the pale blushes from her cheeks, which turned to orange with increasing age. We were still standing by the sea's new day, like travelers pondering the road ahead, who send their souls on while their bones delay, when low above the ocean's western rim, as Mars at times observed the thick vapors that form before the dawn, burns red and slim. Just so may I hope to see it again. A light appeared, moving above the sea faster than any flight. A moment, then, I turned my eyes to question my sweet guide, and when I looked back to that unknown body, I found its mass and brightness magnified. Then, from each side of it came into view an unknown something white, and from beneath it, bit by bit, another whiteness grew. We watched till the white objects at each side took shape as wings, and Virgil spoke no word, but when he saw what wings they were, he cried, "Down on your knees! It is God's angel comes! Down! Fold your hands! From now on you shall see many such ministers in the high kingdoms. See how he scorns man's tools. He needs no oars, nor any other sail than his own wings to carry him between such distant shores. See how his pinions tower upon the air, pointing to heaven. They are eternal plumes, and do not molt like feathers or human hair." Then, as that bird of heaven closed the distance between us, he grew brighter and yet brighter until I could no longer bear the radiance, and bowed my head. He steered straight for the shore, his ship so light and swift it drew no water. It did not seem to sail as much as soar. Astern stood the great pilot of the Lord. So fair his blessedness seemed written on him, and more than 100 souls were seated forward, singing as if they raised a single voice, "In exitu Israel de Egyptu." Verse after verse they made the air rejoice. The angel made the sign of the cross, and they cast themselves at his signal to the shore. Then, swiftly as he had come, he went away. The throng he left seemed not to understand what place it was, but stood and stared about like men who see the first of a new land. The sun, who with an arrow in each ray had chased the goat out of the height of heaven, on every hand was shooting forth the day. When those new souls looked up to where my guide and I stood, saying to us, "If you know it, show us the road that climbs the mountainside," Virgil replied, "You think perhaps we too have some long experience of this place, but we are also pilgrims, come before you, only by very little, though by a way so steep, so broken, and so tortuous, the climb ahead of us will seem like play." The throng of souls, observing by my breath I was still in the body I was born to, stared in amazement and grew pale as death. As a crowd, eager for news, will all but smother a messenger who bears the olive branch, and not care how they trample one another, so these, each one of them a soul elect, pushed close to stare at me, well nigh forgetting the way to go to make their beauty perfect. One came forward to embrace me, and his face shone with such joyous love that, seeing it, I moved to greet him with a like embrace. O solid-seeming shadows! 3 times there I clasped my hands behind him, and 3 times I drew them to my breast through empty air. Amazed, I must have lost all color then, for he smiled tenderly and drew away, and I lunged forward as if to try again. In a voice as gentle as a melody, he bade me pause, and by his voice I knew him, and begged him to stay a while and speak to me. He answered, Not sure who this voice is, trying to think. Must be the guy who's trying to hug. As I loved you in the clay of my mortal body, so do I love you freed, therefore I pause. What brings you this way? Casella mine. I know who does now. I go the way I do, in the hope I may return here, I replied. But why has so much time been taken from you? And he said, I am not wronged if he who usage accepts the soul at his own time and pleasure has many times refused to give me passage. His will moves the image and perfection of a just will. Indeed, for 3 months now, he has taken all who asked, without exception. And so it was that in my turn, I stood upon that shore where Tiber's stream grows salt, and there was gathered to my present good. It is back to the Tiber's mouth he has just flown, for there forever is the gathering place of all who do not sink to Acheron. If no new law has stripped you of your skill, or the memory of those songs of love that once could calm all passion from my will, I said to him, O sound of verse, once more to soothe my soul, which, with its weight of flesh, and the long journey, sinks distressed and sore. Love that speaks its reasons in my heart, he sang then, and such grace flowed on the air, that even now I hear that music start. I did the worst voice for that guy. My guide and I, and all those souls of bliss stood tranced in song, when suddenly we heard the noble elder cry, What's this? What's this? Negligence, loitering. O laggard crew, run to the mountain and strip off the scurf, that lets not God be manifest in you. Exactly as a flock of pigeons gleaning a field of stubble, pecking busily, forgetting all their primping and their preening, will rise as one and scatter through the air, leaving their feast without another thought when they are taken by a sudden scare. So that new band, all thoughts of pleasure gone, broke from the feast of music with a start, and scattered for the mountainside like one who leaps and does not look where he will land, nor were my guide and I inclined to stand.